Let me just preface this video by saying that everything that follows is my opinion. Because apparently having an opinion is the best defense against litigious thieves. My opinion, of course. I did not want to revisit this topic, and I don't want to do this video. I don't want to sit here and talk about another human being in a way that makes me feel less than polite and charitable towards them. But I don't believe that what's happening is right. I didn't want to sit down and write pages of notes trying to come up with a clearly well-written script that I can follow to make sure that I'm carefully stepping around all of the legal potholes that are out there that may or may not cause me problems and come back to bite me. I hope that my statement at the beginning of this video will protect me in some way, because I can't write these notes. They're taking too long, and the longer I spend with them, the worse I feel. I'm not happy with being here. Where's here? Where are we? Well, let me pull up my second screen here. There's a series of court cases in right now between Just3DPrint and TechCrunch and Just3DPrint and Stratasys. They've already closed, and there's apparently more of them coming, but the question is whether Just3DPrint was defamed by TechCrunch and Stratasys. Now, pulling up the court documents for these two cases are remarkably similar, painfully similar, practically identical in what was said and what was stated. The only differences between these two court documents, let me scroll up to the top of them, is in this page the links to specifically what was said. Now, for those who don't know what's going on here, Just3DPrint was a company that set up an eBay listing and started selling 3D models, or rather prints of 3D models. But the interesting thing about the situation is that they didn't make any of those 3D models. They took them from Thingiverse, and ignoring the license that was on there, stated at the time that they believed that those models were in the public domain because they were publicly accessible, which is not what public domain means. And it's interesting to me that somebody who at that time had such a loose understanding of the law is now using the law to try and recoup some of the losses from when they got taken down by eBay. But that aside, these cases, should we worry about these cases? Because in the case of TechCrunch, the case was dismissed. The statement here reads, court conclusion is that statements of DEFT, I think, is that defamation? I'm not sure what that says. Was opinion and does not meet defamation. However, in the case of Stratasys, they were told to pay $12,000 for the judge says, defamatory statements. Now, these are the statements that MakerBot and Stratasys, their parent company, made. The statement by MakerBot is actually extremely, it's factual, but it also doesn't mention Just3DPrint or John Sims or anybody related to them by name. However, the one by Stratasys does mention that it's Just3DPrint who's doing it and things like that, and so it's possible that may be the one that got written as defamatory. Now, I'm not a lawyer, and maybe this is defamatory, but the question as to whether this caused 3DPrint to lose money, I think, is pretty clear cut, and there's a very strong case against this not being the reason why they lost money. However, before I address that, I want to address this question. Does this mean for you and me and people who make 3D designs and put them online that it's okay for somebody to take those 3D designs and do whatever they want with them? The answer is we're not sure, and this, if nothing else raises that question more than ever before. In the past, it seemed pretty clear cut, and I believe in the video that I made about this situation back when it was happening, I made it clear that legally this shouldn't be happening. But this court case doesn't answer that question, because this court case isn't asking whether or not Just3DPrint it was right or wrong in what they did. It's a question of, were these statements defamatory? The judge says that TechCrunch was no, but 3D Systems was yes. But I feel like there's a subtext here that by saying that these statements are defamatory, that they were in essence false, but that what they said was meant to harm the company, when in fact, in my opinion, that company should never have been in business in the first place. And again, I think there's a strong case for Stratasys to appeal this and win that appeal. In fact, I feel this so strongly that I want to make this a public statement, a very upfront statement that could possibly be used in court. So, if you are in any way attached to the legal proceedings of this matter, you can take what follows in this video after I tell you where to cut and present it in court. Okay? Cut here. Hello, my name is Joseph Larson, and I would like to enter into the public record a statement about the situation, about the court case of Just3DPrint against people making defamatory statements against them. As I see it, the question is whether these statements caused Just3DPrint to go out of business, to have their eBay listing shut down and have a loss of revenue. Now, the statement so far that has already been brought up to the court is these ones by MakerBot and Stratasys, reporting on this situation. But I want to point out the dates of these statements. This one was made on February 24th. This one was made on February 26th. By February 24th and February 26th, the eBay listings were already primed to be taken down, and here's my evidence for that. Here on February 18th is when a public listing was made stating that this situation was happening, that an eBay store was open and that it was using designs created by the community of people in 3D printing, and that they were doing so without permission. Now, this was on February 18th. What follows is 901 comments to date about this subject. If we scroll down in here, we can scroll down to February 23rd, the day before MakerBot's statement went out. And on February 23rd, let me go down just a little bit more. Here we are, February 23rd. You can tell, looking at the scroll bar, that by volume, most of the comments existed before that even happened. And a quick search of this page illustrates that many of those comments were advising people to go to eBay, report this listing, report the people who were doing it, let eBay know that there was a copyright infringement happening, and to take them down. I was one of those people who, before this happened, searched out listings of my models that were being used and told eBay that they were being used against copyright. It's my opinion, and you'd have to talk to eBay to find out, but that eBay's got flooded with responses from the community, not from MakerBot and not from responses to MakerBot's statements, but that it was responses before that point that caused this listing to be shut down. MakerBot's responses and anybody else's responses that came out, TechCrunch, all 3D print, all of them came as a reaction to the community, that it was in fact the community that shut down this listing. Now, whether or not all Just3DPrint it, John Sims, wants to go after the community, I leave that to them, but it was not any news outlet, factual, opinion, or otherwise, that shut down this listing. This was entirely the action of the community, and I want to point that out. that the community decided that this will not stand, that we made a decision as a group that this was unacceptable, and that we took action as a group to make it stop. That was the reason for the loss. As for anything else that happens, that's your decision, but I want just to let you know publicly that this was the reason why this all went down. Thank you very much for listening. I hope that this statement helps. And to all my regular watchers who are seeing this on YouTube, hey guys, thank you very much for watching. As usual, safety first. See you next time.